TY versus Zest. And just as we start this TVP, thank you so much to Ribnick, who just dropped the fresh subscription. Welcome, and thank you for supporting. And as we get this underway, in the bottom left-hand side, our red Terran player, this is TY. Taking on the blue Protoss in the bottom right side of the map from Raise Your Edge, it is Zest. Game one of a best of three that could be really, really good, because honestly, I think Zest is one of the best right now. I don't know what happened to Zest when the year turned 2020, but something clicked and something became great for him again, and he just became a monster. And he, maybe not even at the start of 2020, he was not so great. You know, he was losing some matches when he maybe should be winning, but you could see he was a very scary player. And then, obviously, coming into Katowice, everyone's like, well, Zest is good. And then in Katowice, he was just like, oh, by the way, I can win tournaments again, and he very nearly did. And of course, after that, he's just been a beast. I mean, he was on like a... it's not a win streak any longer, but he was on a win streak where he won like everything he played in for a week. And that's not crazy until he realized he played like at least a tournament a day. So he won every match in every tournament he played for a week. And he played like 7 tournaments. Like, it was crazy. So the guy is playing real well right now. And his PvT is very dangerous. He loves to play that kind of multi-gateway. It's very aggressive sort of style. Get lots of units on the map and really just kind of harass the Terran player, stop the Terran from taking a third base, etc. And just make, you know, the Terran's life difficult early. Intrigued to see how he can do that on Golden Wall. Is this kind of large map to push across initially? And of course, there's a few different ways you can take the third base as a Terran. You can take it down this bottom side as well, which can make things get a little bit interesting too. So a few different things to look at there as this Reaper of TY pops out. That's going to be coming down the front and out onto the map to get across and to see what's going to happen. Last couple of shoutouts for this game. Sly Knight, thank you so much for the sub. Welcome to the WardiTV family as well. And thank you so much, Masterlaw, dropping the $5 donation, because you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for the support as well. Like I said, we'll be doing the rest of the shoutouts after the game, guys. I want to focus up and make these great casts, because they are freaking great games, of course. As you do see our Twilight Council dropping down from Zest in the front of the natural expansion at the moment. Again, that Twilight Council underway. We do see the probe production continuing. A Stalker about to be popping out very shortly as well. There's Hellion just on the way on the factory and a starport building in the main. And meanwhile, we've got the command center of TY also about to finish up. So, getting that completed. And that will be able to morph into an orbital here in just a moment or two. So, able to get that started. Again, our Adept just wandering across the map to try and apply a little bit of early pressure. It's just going to be the blink from Zest. And with the blink, he's going to go for a second gateway at the same time. So, getting this gateway up and running as we do see our Adept all the way up and in towards the main base. Worth mentioning as well, I said we'd talk about this, but Zest is only going to play 1 game today. Usually we get 2 games of every player. As this Reaper hops up in towards the natural, will be turned around, but got to see the Twilight at least. Usually we see 2 games of every player in these matches. Next week, etc. Next Friday, we'll have the week number 2, second play day. But Zest requested that we didn't play his PvZ against Ragnarok today because he has 2 Zergs in his GSL group. So he actually just asked if we could move that to after his GSL group so he couldn't, so he could just keep his PvZ strategies hidden. And of course, we're very happy to comply with that. I think it's really awesome that these guys are still playing in this event, even though GSL started up, because I was expecting a lot of them to turn down their invites / qualified positions. Trap did. He was the first person to reply to me. He was like, no, I'm not interested. And I was kind of expecting a few of them to, but pretty much everybody else did accept their invite, which is really awesome, especially now GSL has started up. So, yeah, very happy to work around GSL. We already did a bit of a shifting of the schedule once the GSL groups were released to try and avoid anyone playing anyone who's in a GSL group with someone else too soon to that GSL group. But we also wanted to make sure, of course, you know, Zest has 2 Zergs in his group. He doesn't want to play PvT today. As far as we're concerned, we're happy to move that to next week, right? Help the players out. That's what we're all about. We just want to have some fun with StarCraft. We don't want people to have a bad time. I don't want Zest to lose in GSL because he had to show his sickest strategies today. Because he wants to show his best on WardiTV. It makes sense, you know. Hellion coming around and a probe gets picked off. And it's Hellion mostly for scouting, but he's also brought the Marines across. Now, this is actually a nice play because he's got the Banshee in the main. So this Banshee in the main as the Marines go to the third base, and actually the Stalkers have to kind of pick and choose. Detection is coming. As this Banshee's going to try and get out, it's just going to make it. Oh, he's out of range of the Observer, so yeah, he's fine. And these Marines on the third base got 9 probes, so TY with a cool move. You don't usually see these Marines coming across the map, but this is very nicely done. Now, obviously, it works very well if the Banshee's down here, is he's going to recall the Stalkers to the third base. I think he wants to go hunt down these Marines. They actually took a journey to the top side initially, and now Zest is not going to find them. Nice movement from TY, and he's going to keep Zest guessing. I mean, Zest will blink and try and chase now, but they've dotted across to the bottom left. And the 2 Banshees coming back home. And look at this, guys. Hyperflight Rotors. TY on 3 CCs, 4 gases. It looks as though we might be seeing a little bit of Mech here from TY. TY was playing Mech in TVP throughout the early part of this year, throughout the first few months. And a few other players have tried it as well, but we've really seen it die off again lately. You know, it feels like it's been like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 weeks since anyone's really tried to Mech in TVP. And here's our boy TY showing up and being like, well, let me show you how it was done. Let me remind you. So I kind of like it. A little bit unique, a little bit different. Hyperflight Rotors is about halfway done at the moment here from TY, so getting that up and running. As you see, 2 more factories dropping down into the main base. The Stalker of Zest taking a lead at the moment. Just going to be seeing the Stalkers of Zest coming on down. Just going to be seeing a 3rd CC setting up as well. As we do have the Templar Archives, the Forge, both of these building. So again, some extra structures up to kind of tech up here. For Zest, it's the right sort of decision. He hasn't actually seen the fact it's Mech yet. So right now, I feel like he's still just playing as though his opponent is just going, you know, he sees 3 bases, etc. So he's like, okay, 3 CC, I can tech up from this. But he doesn't know it's Mech just yet. So again, he's not maybe making all the choices you would like, because Storm is not necessarily a priority against Mech. You know, Immortal production might be something you want to start up here, and, you know, maybe just more into more Archons, and maybe even setting up to be a bit more aggressive than usual. And again, Zest just doesn't really see this at the moment, so the thing is, too, what Zest does see is he sees a Raven, he sees Marines, and this very much so looks like Bio. You know, he hasn't seen just how many tanks there are. He's never seen more than just 2 Banshees. He hasn't seen Hyperflight Rotors. So all of the tells just aren't here. As he sees now a sensor tower at the front with this hallucinated prism. I think that's going to go down before it actually gets to do much else. TY actually scanned in the main base to look to see what was up. These 4 Banshees coming across the Observer. Okay, the Observer sees 4 Banshees with Hyperflight Rotors now, and now you kind of know. Now you kind of know a little bit of what's up, as we're going to be seeing the recall on the army back home. The Stalkers coming back. These High Templar, though, no detection. He Observer. No, it was a War Prism on the production. Oh, 2 High Templar go down right away. He'll blink forwards, but there's nothing seen. There's nothing going on. As these Banshees continue up to the top side, a couple of these other probes continue to mine away. Other Stalkers coming in as well. A couple of probes go down. And again, the Stalkers coming across to push that Banshee or 2 backwards. 1-1 upgrades from TY continue to come into play then, so continuing up with these. And a couple extra factories in the main base. Continue to set that up. And just going to be seeing the Banshees of TY now down to the bottom side. Stalker from Zest already being pushed away, and all of these other Stalkers continue to gather together as well. Prophetic boosters on the way on the Robo Bay as well, so just getting the Observer speed. It's actually against the Banshees with Hyperflight. Really useful, of course, because we've already seen TY struggling to get detection into position. Zest struggling to get detection into position. Stuff to It's tough to deal with these Banshees. I mean, cannons, etc. Stack defense is a good investment. I'm surprised we see no stack defense on the 3rd base. These Banshees can actually just kill these cannons. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, a shield battery or 2 might have helped as well. Double cannon, not so much, especially when you can just engage 1 at a time. So now some probes being chased down in TY. Yeah, we'll deal some extra damage to Zest here at the moment. And Infernal Pre-Igniter building up too. Honestly, TY is just controlling the game with these Banshees, and he's about to be maxed out on Mech, by the way, against a 150 supply Zest. What is happening? This is obviously kind of insane. This is kind of crazy. These Banshees coming around this left-hand side. Hellions, Marines, and tanks pressing forward. The command center of TY will be dropping down. Taking a gold base. He's getting base number 4 already set to go. Yeah, that's just with these disruptors on the way out. I'm wanting to believe they can get something done here, but disruptors are always this unit that's very hard to believe in until they actually get those connections. They actually get those shots, which are like, oh, there we are. There we go. So, yeah, we'll see a little bit of what's going on there as we see a few of these disruptors hanging around on the natural. More stalkers up to the top, and they're going to go chase down these Banshees. Actually blinks in and gets one of these Banshees taken down pretty much right away. That's the second Banshee, and maybe a blink for a third one. Nicely done. So he gets 3 Banshees there right off the bat. And now these few Hellions coming around the right side. He actually drops High Templars out to storm these Hellions. I mean, storm on Hellions obviously does work. Hellions are actually pretty fragile units. They don't have a lot of HP. So storm just bring them down very low, and it helps you clean up the mass wave of them very quickly. A few more High Templar continuing in, more Stalkers warping. The idea of Zest's army is to kind of be very mobile and to be, you know, meeting this Mech army in the middle of the map, out on the map, be already out there, etc. It's, well, it's not quite working so far, I'd say. Those Stalkers didn't have the greatest of times. Zest has a ton of money to spend. He's going to start triple Stargate. If you can get to a fleet beacon on triple Stargate and you can get a couple attack carriers out or even some Tempests, obviously you generally do very well against the Mech army. At the very least, you force Thors and Vikings, which slows the Terran player down a lot. But yeah, it's generally difficult to get there. Let's see these Banshees around this bottom right-hand side. Right, so the Stalkers coming out into the center. Hellions and tanks moving through. Nice little blink forwards. Gets a couple of Hellions. And more Stalkers just blinking back over this right-hand side. So bringing them back as well. Tanks in production. Drone claws on the way. Manfield Accelerator about to complete. As another tank shot picks off a sentry. Stalkers of Zest coming over this far left-hand side. Just going to see the 5th base coming into position. So Zest is going to try, I mean, I want to say he's going to try and base trade it, but not sure if he actually will commit through to it. As he gets a couple Hellions, he gets some shots. He's actually going to come in for the big surround. Now he's going to start storming down some of these tanks. So here we go. With the Zealots on the right and the Stalkers from the top. This has had a pretty good fight here. I mean, a few tanks left over. The Banshee's trying to reconvene on top of them. So that's actually had pretty good disruptors. He got rid of 2 tanks at the very get-go, and he got rid of a good chunk of the Hellions, which obviously is great for the Zealots, right? Because the Zealots would have got, well, like this. They melt those Hellbats. Now 2 more disruptor shots, and they're going to get rid of 2 more tanks. And that's going to be a cleanup from Zest, who still has a ton of money in the bank to be spent, by the way. I mean, right now he's got to decide, does he just purely warp in, or does he put those Stargates to use? He's got 4 Stargates, still no fleet beacon. Oh my god, he's going to start making Void Rays. Okay. Guys, we've gone from WardiTV Spring Championship TY versus Zest to Bronze League Heroes. The Voids are on the way up! I mean, in all seriousness, it kind of makes sense. You know, there's no anti-air in this army right now, and you have the money, and you kind of want to build like an air army, like carriers, etc. But if you don't have the fleet beacon and you need a response right now, Voids are kind of a good go-to. As we're going to be seeing the Templar Archives in some trouble here. Stalkers warping in. Not sure if they even have the detection to really come forwards here. Yeah, they do not have the detection. Meanwhile, Stalkers across the map as well, trying to deal some more damage. The 5th base of TY under some pressure, and some of the build and CCs having to be cancelled off. And there's just no real tanks or anything in position to properly hold those Stalkers from at least picking away at the edges of this base. More tanks through the center. The Voids and the Immortals, the Disruptors too, all gathering over on the right-hand side. We're just going to be seeing another scan onto that base. This is still a dangerous game you're playing here as Zest, of course. You get caught out one time, and you're in some trouble. It's a great storm. The Hellions have really been eating a few storms in amongst all of this. And now Tempest on the way out. So now the fleet beacon is up. Now we're starting to see a bit more of what I expected. And now we see actually Thor's being made, which is, of course, again, hopefully going to slow down the rest of this Terran army. From Zest's point of view, Void's coming in from this right-hand side. The Immortals here as well. The rest of these Stalkers coming around the top side, and a lot of the Hellions going down. Storm after Storm dropping. Tanks taking a lot of damage. These other Stalkers trying to press in. Tempests are firing too. There's a couple of tanks on the top. The Voids are going to prismatically align to try and do what they can. The thing is, Zest has wandered into maybe a few too many tank shots out in the middle. However, the Voids are going to have a good time, and there's a couple of siege tanks here that are absolutely not going to have a good time. Well, the Tempest here, you can get some damage done as well, of course. The Thors showing up, though, really are the answer to these air units, and the Thors are just about in time to save TY once again. Zest still has so much money. He just can't spend it. It's actually a bit insane. Tempests are nice against the Thors, at least because they can outrange them as well. I think if the Thors get in range of those Tempests, Thors are going to have a great time. As the Banshee's back again. Some of these Banshees have just been around for a long time. These two together have 21 kills on them. They've just seen, they've seen a lot of fights at this stage. They've seen a lot of fights. There's a few more Zealots warping into the center. Temple Archives dropping down from Zest in the main. And still just seeing Zest pushing across over this left-hand side. Hellions and Thors and tanks. Is it enough? Are there enough Thors here? I guess is a decent enough question. There's 8. I would say yes. Look at them destroying this first Tempest, as they are just, and Tempest does just get in range. Zealot's trying to charge in on those Thors as well, but they're pretty beefy. They're 3-3. Oh my god, Zest's army here is just not doing a lot. He's trying to reinforce into the fight at the same time. He's blinking through to try and get himself the Thors. But the Thors are just too powerful, and Zest just does not have enough. And that's going to be GG. TY is going to take game 1. What a crazy, wacky TVP to start us off here in this series. Great first game. Weird, wonderful, and nothing like what we... I think the problem is he has a bank all the time because he's not quite sure what he always wants to build. So at the point when he adds on the Tempest, for example, that should take up a lot of money. And it does take up a lot of money, but then he's like, do I actually want more Tempest? And he's like, well, actually, I kind of don't. And then he's still just warping in Stalkers. There's no Archons in this army, which would have been a very expensive way to spend some money. He maybe could have got some Zealot harassment going, some more Zealots on the bottom side with all the minerals. It just wasn't the cleanest of games from Zest in that regard. It just wasn't the cleanest of games from Zest in that regard. As you do see the bottom left-hand side, our pink Protoss player, this is Zest from Raise Your Edge. As on the top right-hand side, our blue Terran player is TY. Couple questions about replays, etc., guys. Our first 4 matches of the day are live. So TY versus Zest, Parting versus Solar after this, and then also Sue versus Solar. And the other 3 matches remaining after that are replays, but they're being played as we speak. So they're not played beforehand. They're only being played when scheduled to play. So on the Wikipedia page, they all have a starting time, etc. They're only being played at those times, so they're not being played in advance. They're not being played a day before. They're literally being played as we speak. Just as much as you want me to cast 2 games at once, it just ain't super possible. Not all the time, at least. Sometimes we can do it, but it's a bit difficult, you know. So that's the scenario of just how these games are. We use a very similar system a lot of the time. It's basically just designed so that the players don't have to sit around forever. Obviously, if the players show up and they have to, you know, play 1 best of 3, then wait, then play, then wait, then play. You know, they're set here for like 5 hours of our broadcast, when in fact they could be done in 3 hours. And it just makes these tournaments much more... It's much more appealing to the players to play in these events if they can be done a little bit sooner, you know? And for us, we don't really lose much production quality or anything. No one knows the results. The games are fresh. Yeah. I stumbled across this system like a year and a bit ago, year and a half ago. You can basically see there's like a point at which I just did this like 5-man round robin group with 2 matches at a time. And that was the moment I realized, it's like, wow, this is the future. This is so smart. Players are here for less time, but we get more games. I was like, this is incredible. This is exactly what I've been looking for all this time. After my 20th best of 3 4-player GSL group lasted for 2 hours, I was like, no, stop. Why are these best of 3s so short all the time? So yeah, it's just a good way to make it work for everybody involved. Blink on the way up here, guys. This game on Eternal Empire. I mean, Eternal Empire, nice large map. I mean, this is a map you can mech on as well. Against Protoss, though, meching on this map might actually be a bit more difficult than on Golden Wall. I imagine the idea on Golden Wall is that it's very hard for the Protoss to break you on 3 bases, and that's what the Protoss player generally likes to try and do to punish it. Yeah, I was going to say this is the map where you actually sometimes see a Fusion Core proxied as well. Just if TY is playing Wilded, and he actually does it. God damn it, I should have said that first before my other point. But my other point is, just to finish it off, on Eternal Empire, it doesn't seem crazy, but you can actually have an attack from the left and up, and that doesn't seem super crazy because you just choke here. Even if you get a few units up this side or a Warp Prism here and in, it's very difficult to hold if they're busting you on 3 bases. Whereas on Golden Wall, the location of the bases that you take 3 bases on, there's 0 flanking potential. You either go in from the bottom into the base or you go in from the top. Like, it's basically each base has a setup like this where you're just attacking straight in, right? So on Golden Wall, it's very difficult for the pros to bust you down in 3 bases. And maybe they can pull you apart with a Prism in the main and a push at the front. But they don't have the chance to go Prism in the natural. Run by here, and you know what I mean? And really break you down that early. So that's, yeah, that's kind of my analysis. So this is going to be a proxied Fusion Core, which means we are going to be seeing a Battlecruiser early. TY really bringing it back. These are very similar builds to what we saw back in the start of the year, like January in the IEM qualifiers. Mech versus Protoss. We also have some Mech versus Protoss. Battlecruisers with the proxied Fusion Core here on Eternal Empire. You know, these are the kind of things where it's like, okay, like, these are kind of wild ways to win, and TY's bringing it back. Can he make it work out? Well, that's, of course, what we're waiting to find out here in just a few moments' time. A Marine picking away at this hallucinated Phoenix, which flies through towards the main base here. So, towards the main, the Marines are able to get on top of that hallucination, shut that down. Now, this is a really nice cloak as well, right? Because it makes it look as though it's just cloak banshees. But he starts up... Okay, he starts up a shield battery in each mineral line. I think Zest might have a bit of an idea about this. BC teleports. Now he knows for sure. A shield battery in each mineral line is good against a banshee as well, of course. It's especially good against a BC because a BC DPS... A single battlecruiser DPS and is not high enough to realistically kill anything. That's being healed by a shield battery as the Stalkers actually blink up into the main to defend. Ooh, BC nearly goes down. That ain't pretty. And TY realizes if that BC is not causing complications in the main, my push at the front in towards the 3rd base is not going to work out either. Like, it just absolutely is not. Marines and a couple tanks setting up then as TY will just pull back to take the 3rd CC. This is not a build where you're like super determined on dealing damage. Obviously it's nice to deal some for the investment. It's a build that can get out of control if the BC in the main causes enough chaos, and then you can get a position on the 3rd base. You can really trade out well. But he does have a 3rd CC behind him before he goes into extra barracks, so he is setting up to be in a good position anyways. As these Stalks will stop this CC from landing in a moment, and the Mule will perhaps derp. BC teleports home. I was just going to be seeing now the few SCVs can pull in to repair that, of course. Get out to health, and you can still then fly this BC around the map and just try and be a little bit annoying again. So absolutely a possibility there, as we do have the Stalkers still hanging around up on the top side. 1-1 upgrades coming in from TY on the natural expansion. And these other few Stalkers coming out towards the Watchtower now. So coming out towards the Watchtower, Ghost Academy will start up from TY in the main base. The missile turret is going to fire, and the Warp Prism taking a lot of shots. Already, first Stalker taking some damage. He actually blinks across into a tank. He actually kills the Prism. That's really nice. Here he goes. Zest is just going to go to try and bust this down. Marines don't have a lot of upgrades right now. The BC will help a lot. If the BC can be repaired, it might not die. The Marine count doing okay. Of course, this is no upgrades at all from Zest. It's actually more aggressive from Zest than I was expecting, as the BC will indeed survive this. Obviously, a lot of the tank is going down. He needs to start repairing this orbital because it will take a lot of shots very quickly once the Stalkers focus it. As I said, you need to repair that orbital. It goes down. It's a nice catch from Zest. Now Stim is done, though. Marines pressing forwards here. The Immortal will go down. The Stalkers blink away from the fight. If TY hadn't lost this 3rd CC, I think he's in a really good spot, but losing the third CC? I do think this is a little bit troublesome for him. This isn't looking as great anymore. Another round of Zealots coming up here, and of course those Zealots are meant to be this front line that was so difficult to deal with. And oh my god, there's so many Zealots! Stalker's going to focus up on the battlecruiser. The Zealots getting forwards towards these Marines. Is it enough? Yes, it is. Zest bust will be good to take game 2 and tie us up 1-1 in this best-of-3 series. Welcome back. As we're loading into game number 3 here of TY and Zest. We start up in the bottom right-hand side with the pink Protoss player, able to tie it up with that aggression in game number 2 on Eternal Empire. It is Zest, of course, in the bottom right-hand side on Simulacrum. And TY in the top left, our Red Terran. Let's try and show us some more crazy, I guess, on Simulacrum. Let's see what he goes for. TY is just very weak to this bust of Zest. BC doesn't do a lot early. While the BC definitely helped a lot with the initial hold. I actually still think it's not super easy, but maybe it's holdable if you keep 3 bases alive, right? Because while the Zealots were obviously in high numbers, maybe you pull the SCVs, right? And the SCVs tank a bit. You have 3 CCs to rebuild back up on this. You know, Zest doesn't have any real tech involved. It's just blink and charge. There's no upgrades against 1-1. You know, then maybe you start having a bad time as Zest. But TY loses that 3rd CC, and that's obviously a turning point in the game, because then you can't lose SCVs because you have no rebuild potential. Then you can't really, you know, and then you're not mining from the 3rd base anyways, so that's obviously painful as well. So, yeah, it was a bit of an adventure, that game, and TY, I think it really does just come down to he lost the 3rd CC, and that really takes away a lot of his options in being able to defend the heavy dedicated pressure from Zest. I mean, you could almost say it's all in when there's no upgrades behind it, etc. And it kind of is if you don't do enough, right? You're very far behind. You're in a bit of a tough spot. I like this from TY. He's going to proxy a factory out on the map as this single probe is going to be hunted down by a Marine shortly. So the idea here is he's kind of like, oh no, you're blocking my command center. I can't believe it. Marine comes out now. The Marine first is a bit of a surprise. That's already for Zest something to think about a little bit here. You're like, oh my god, a Marine? Well, why is there not a Reaper? I mean, and right away, you're then like, well, okay, there's a faster factory. But that doesn't mean you think the factory is proxied. It can still be a factory in the main base. Oftentimes, you go for like a Hellion drop very quickly off this. Maybe you expect like a proxied starport, then Hellion drop very quickly. Why not both? Proxy the starport as well. Well, there you go. So yeah, a little bit funky. Obviously, this usually, if you go for like a proxied if you go for the factory, you still usually expand, right? So you expand, factory comes down a bit faster still after the expansion. This is obviously very different in the sense that it is on the map. Factory, starport, both proxied up together. That starport going to be done in a moment or two. As we do have the Adept of Zest making its way out through this top side. You see a gateway dropping down on the bottom right as well. Just going to be seeing again this Hellion popping. And with the Twilight Council finishing in the main base of Zest, giving himself some options as to what he can get done here. And as the Marine also makes its way out, going to be coming into the front. A few Marines of TY pressing forwards, and Zest going to be backing away into the middle of the map now. Yeah, so 3 Hellions going to load in his medevac. Obviously, it's a super fast drop. If Zest doesn't know this is coming, which I don't think he does, he's going to take some mega damage. Now, he is walled in the main, so reactions and kind of dealing with this can absolutely still have some saving potential as he sees, okay, he sees this now. What does he do about it? Loses 1 probe. Now he pulls some probes to the side. 6 workers lost already. A couple stalkers coming in. The thing is, the couple stalkers are going to be so slow to really clean this up. Targets the medevac for a moment. Okay, well, now at least he's pushed the Hellions over to another direction, as Marines are just going to walk into the natural expansion. Oh my god, now the medevac's like, cool, I gave up on the Hellions. My new friends are these Marines. We are now best buddies. As they're going to go for this pile, and the Stalkers will get a warp in, but of course, you can just lift and leave here as TY, as soon as you see this being a little bit too troubling. 22 workers down. What a attack from TY early in the game. Zest will be down by 9 now, of course. The command center wasn't finished, but I think 23 SCVs is just 23 probes is just a few too many. If you lose like 10 workers here, You know, as Zest, you're like, well, that sucks, but hey, you know, this is earlier than usual. This is proxied. You know, his CC is late. You recover from that. 15, you're like, oh, okay, I took a bit too much. 23? You don't recover from 23 probe losses this early in the game, no matter the scenario. Like, even if TY is, like, all in one base right now, you lose 23 workers, TY can start expanding, you know what I mean? Zest playing forward, and that's going to be GG. As TY will take the third map of this series, and he wins out 2-1 against Zest in this series.